out with nuggets and things. I appreciate your moments and your time. I want to try to share with you something that I had to learn today. Today, honey, I was out and about, and this came from an experience that I had probably about 3 weeks ago. I've been on this journey, right, and this mission to find some land because I'm going off the grid. I'm doing all these things. I listen to my phrases, honey. It's gonna help you out. I'm going off the grid. I gotta get this. I gotta get that. I'm moving. I'm moving. I'm moving. I'm shaking. Getting all these things going. My last time, 3 weeks ago, I was out looking at some land, and y'all know I've been doing it for a minute. And how about on my way going to look at this particular land in another state, probably about an hour, maybe an hour, 20 minutes from me. I went to go look at the land, and on my way going, I'm probably about 40 minutes, maybe 30 minutes out on the road, and this is what downloaded in me. Make this your last time going out looking for this land. And I'm like, what you mean? Is this, maybe this is the land I'm supposed to get, so I ain't got to go looking no more. Make this your last time. I said, okay. So I went to go look at the land, and on my way back, I was a little tired. But anyway, I was sharing with my daughter. I said, my spirit spoke to me, when I was going to look at this land, and said, make this your last time looking for land, right? Wait until the summer's over. Just stop. Just stop. You've been doing this for a while, right? So she said, Mom, in the last 4 months you've been running, trying to find this land. You looked at over 10 pieces of property. And I said, man, has it been that many? She said, yeah. I said, wow, I didn't realize it'd been that many. I said, but when I was riding back and forth to this particular state, it reminded me when I was house hunting in 2022. Those of you who follow me, you know the story. And I was doing the same thing, running back and forth, spending money, time, gas, right? Here I'm spending money, time, and gas, running back and forth, trying to get this land together. And I said, yeah, okay, so it's time for me to slow down. So I'm thinking, okay, let me slow down. And this is what happened. I'm thinking I'm slowing down. And then all of a sudden, one of my friends, my dear friend, he had sent me a message, and he said, hey, Queen, what you been up to? And I said, oh, yeah, I'm out here doing this, doing this. And when I was, writing him this message, I realized I'm always doing something. Queen is always doing something. She's always getting ready to do this, trying to do that, putting this together. I'm working on this, always. And when I was writing that, I had to pause, and tears came in my eyes because I realized I have been busy, 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 busy all my life. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, just always trying to put things together. And to some of you, you said, that's a good thing, Queen. I mean, go ahead with your bad stuff. And you're right, go ahead with your bad stuff until you realize that what it did, what I have created, and I created this now, and I'm good at what I created now. I created a woman, a strong, independent woman, strong now, a strong, independent woman who knows how to lead, knows leadership, and knows strength in doing what she does. But what's up with the yin yang? Because like you can lead, you also got to need to follow. You know, where there's strength, you need to be weak sometimes. Man, I said, I remember, I remember telling the guy one time years back. I said, honey, I don't know how to be a damsel in distress now. And he fell out laughing. He said, what? I said, I don't know how to be a damsel in distress. I don't know how to be a needy woman. I need you. I don't know how to do that. Isn't it amazing? And one guy accused me, you too needy. I said, I said, boy, you done bounced off a whole lot of rocks on your head. I said, because ain't nothing about me needy, right? But anyway, I said, it hit me. When I was in my 20s, I'm a mother. And by the time I was 24, I had all three of my children. I had my first one at 19, 24, I had all three of my children. So in 5 years, I had three, right? You know, married, got children. But I was still carrying the role of both. I was still taking care of this, that, and the other. I was still making sure everything was done. And I did it when I saw it needed to be done and it wasn't getting done. I just jumped in there and I did it. I was doing, right? Until I got good at it. I became almost professional at multitasking, going off to work, sometimes working two jobs, making sure my family's taken care of, things need to be done at the house, inside the house. I was doing it all. I was good at it until I realized I became a professional, independent, strong woman. And that sounds cute to some people until it ain't cute no more. let you shop on that for a sec. Just shop on it, honey. You know, I was out this morning talking to somebody, and this guy was inside the store. I walked inside the store, and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" Because I speak to everybody. He says, "Oh, I'm not doing well. These allergies." And I said, "Oh, you sound like you got an allergy too." He said, "Oh, yeah, I do." And I walked through. I was walking while I was talking. Right. I said, might need to have some hot tea." That's my thing. I tell people, hot tea, honey, hot tea. And I kept walking, and the lady was somewhere inside the store, and I stopped and I said to her, speaking to her, right? And I said, she says, "Hi, how you doing today?" She said, "Oh, not too good." And I said, "Oh, what's wrong, honey?" And I said, no, I didn't say what's wrong. I said, "Oh, so you got allergies?" She says, "No, I wish it was somebody I can handle that." I said, "Oh, okay." So I wasn't going to, pride. I didn't know the woman. So I started talking to her, and we started having this conversation. I'm talking about something totally irrelevant from what she's talking about. But it turned around, I started talking about myself. And I was started talking to her and realized that I was sharing something that I needed to hear. Because the last time I told you I was going to look at the land, I was told, make it your last time go. Right? And so I needed to learn how to listen. Because if you had been listening, Jenny, you wouldn't have been looking at 10 pieces of property. Don't you know that your spirit knows where you're supposed to be? Don't you know that whoever your guide is, your creator has already designed your place for you to be, and you're out here going from place to place, marking time, money, and doing a whole lot of stuff that you just, you're losing time doing this stuff, right? And I said, man, I said, you're right. My listening abilities was lacking, honey, because I was going. Because Jenny knew if I wanted it, nobody else was going to go out here and get it because they don't see my want. They don't understand what I'm asking for. So I need to go out here and make it happen because that's what I do. Professional, strong woman. Until I realized, whew, man, can you imagine the things, honey? Woo, honey. And then I realized what my son was saying when he said, "Honey, I don't want." I said, what kind of woman are you looking for?" He said, "I don't want no kind of woman like you, mama." I said, "Honey, what you say?" He said, "Mama, you don't need a man." I said, "What you mean I don't need a man?" He said, "You don't need one, mama. You do everything. You do everything in the house, out of the house. You just do everything." I said, "Oh, look at him." I said, "Well, baby, if there's nobody there to do it, and there's a vacancy there, what you want me to do?" But I'm saying, mama, even if somebody was there, you still doing it all. Hmm. All right, mister. Then my other son says, "Well, mama, I want somebody just like you." I said, "There you go." Please. He said, "Cause you do it, you know." And I said, one of my guys said, "Yeah, cause you're the man." I said, I, I said loud. I said, "Am I that bad?" I guess I am. So anyway, today I realized that I have always been in leadership and I've always been independent because Everything I've done in my life, just curved me, molded me into being a leader, right? Being a single parent. Even when there was two parents in the house, I was still a single parent in many ways. Or I thought I was anyway, right? So I was doing this and the other, cutting the grass, cutting the grass, washing the car, making sure the roof was whatever, right? Out here working, cooking, doing the whole thing. Ain't that something? And a lot of people didn't complain about it, honey, because the girl was moving things on, making things happen. I led in businesses, I led in home. I was a leader until you realize, huh? Gee, girl, look what you done did. And then the model I was for my daughters and the model I was for my sons. You know, some of them looked at that and said, "Yay!" And some looked at that and said, "I ain't doing that. I'm trying to," you know. So I say that to say this: I had to. I told somebody, I didn't know how to be a damsel in distress. I didn't know how. I didn't know how to be weak. I didn't know how to show weakness. I didn't know how to be needy. I didn't know how. It was not a part of my makeup. Strength is all I knew, to be strong. And to show weakness was always a sign to me that I'm broken. I'm messed up. Something is wrong with me because I showed some weakness. Somebody gonna shop on this one, honey. You're gonna catch exactly what I'm saying to you. Today, I realize that I need to learn how to back up. Back up, Jenny, and let somebody else do that. I know you think nobody can do it but you. I know you think that you see it, so you should make it happen. But look, somebody else sees it too, you know? And you got to learn how to delegate or sit back and let it happen. If the grass is overgrowing, all y'all looking at the same thing. If it's overgrowing, maybe they'll take lead in it. But you don't have to take lead in everything. Just sit back. Because my spirit said, rest, Jenny. Just rest. Because if you're really looking for one day to become somebody's, hand in glove, you know, girl, you got to learn how to sit back, you know, learn how to sit in the passenger seat and stop being in the driver's seat. I know you feel as though the driver's seat is the only place you can sit, but them seats both work. You just ain't leading in the passenger seat. So I'm learning to be a passenger. I'm learning now. I ain't say I got it straight, but I'm learning. The first thing I had to do was recognize it, become aware. So now I'm aware of who I am, where I am, who I am, what I've done, and what I want to change. I had to do that. I had to do that because I realized I was leading strongly in my life. I was a professional. By the time I was 30 years old, I knew how to lead and lead well. You hear me? I knew how to go out here and do this, and this. Work 2 jobs, take care of my children, make sure the bills are paid, and do everything to be done. I knew how to do that by the time I was 30. So when someone came into my life and they halfway was doing what they were supposed to be doing, I didn't skip a beat. I made sure it was done because I knew it needed to be done. Now, that speaks volume. And it speaks volume to me if nobody else heard it. So now I'm learning. Like I had to teach myself to be strong. I'm now having to teach myself not to be weak, but to rest, to not see the urgency and everything needs to be done. And when my spirit guides told me this makes your last time running up here, wait until after the summer. Don't even look at any more properties. It was teaching me how to sit back and listen, which was important for me to know. I need to listen. Because, honey, all the running, all the doing I have been doing, I realized if I had listened, I wouldn't have been doing as much. You know, this is for me, honey. And I know, honey, if it's for me, somebody else got it too. Somebody else had to hear this, and somebody needs to know this. How before you become a train wreck, before you mess up every opportunity that you could have had, you know, before you close some doors that are open for you, you know, male or female, honey, you know, look at yourself, you know, and ask yourself, is this, you know, are you balanced? Are you all one way? And that's it. And I was all one way, and that was it. I was all in at making sure it's going to be done because I had to be strong and I was definitely independent, you know? So you come into my life, you're there, but I ain't depending on you now. You there now, but I'm not depending on you because if you fall short or you skip out, I got this because I'm not going to hand everything over so you can mess this up for me because I had it happen too many times. So now I'm trained. Don't drop the ball, Jenny, because you know they don't know how to pick it up. You know, shame on me. Shame on me, huh? Not them. Shame on me. Shame on me. You know, probably, probably self-consciously, I might even have chosen people who didn't know how to do. So I stayed in command and continued to do. You know what I mean? Shh, don't say that out loud. You know, I've not even been aware of it because I did until I realized it is not necessary for me to do. So land's gonna come wherever it's gonna be, whatever's gonna happen, honey. But guess what Jenny girl's getting ready to do, honey? She's getting ready to sit back. She's gonna sit back and she's gonna enjoy life. Cause I've been watching stuff, honey, ever since I got that mess. I've been watching a lot of stuff. I just watch it. And I said, okay, I see it, so I know somebody else see it too. And I'm gonna wait for them to do it. Because Jenny does not have to do everything. She ain't got to make everything happen. She ain't got to make sure the plants are down. She don't have to make sure that this is done. She ain't got to make sure the grass is cut. She don't have to do that because there's other people who can do the same thing. So let them do it. And if they don't do it the way you do it, as quick as you do it, it's okay. Let them do it though. And that's what I'm learning. This is for me. But I shared it because I know somebody else can say, I can agree. I've been there or I'm there. And if it's working for you, honey, keep doing it. But if you want to see a change and you want something different, you got to do something different. And I want something different, honey. You know, I just want something different. I just do. I love doing what I do. I do. But I'm learning now how to sit over there in that passenger seat. So I'm learning how to sit in the passenger seat and keep my mouth closed, honey. Just over there, keep closed. Just ride. You know, my son took me out in the motor home Saturday, and I just sat over there in that little chair, and he just drove. Mama, where you want to go? You know, I said, well, you just go on that road, just go, you know, just ride, you know, because I'm getting comfortable sitting in the passenger seat, and I want to learn how to be comfortable and happy in the passenger seat, because I've been driving for a long time, honey. I've been driving for a long time. That's it for me today. Honey. And when I got to talk to that lady, she wasn't having a good day. When I finished talking to her about my little story that I halfway shared with y'all, you know what she told me? She said, I'm so glad you came in my aisle. She said, I feel so much better just listening to you talk. She said, let me tell you. She says, being dependent looks good on you. She said, you carrying it well. I said, thank you, Sugar, because I feel it. I feel it now. You know, namaste. And I know got everything to do with these antennas, honey. Because these antennas, honey, has got me close, honey. and picking up all that frequency. And honey, I can hear. And I've been on this journey. What was it? January? I started this. I think it was January. Honey, look, 5 months in, honey, and I'm growing up. I'm getting to be a big girl now. Thank you so much for your time. Let your light forever shine. Be powerful in who you are and what you do. And look, when your spirit tells you it's time to change you, don't fight it. Just change. Find out what you can do to make yourself better. Because being better is just not for you, it's for so many other people. Especially if you want something different in your life, then you might need to make some adjustments, you know, on you, not them, on you. And I am. Have a fantastic day. I love you. Peace.